nefarious nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A nefarious nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. You can help us grow the show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. With this, welcome to Season 5.
She knew I could tell with one glance, one look, one simple instant. It was her eyes. Despite the thick makeup, they were still dark-rimmed, haunted, and sad. Most of all, though, they were familiar. The fact that we were in front of hundreds of strangers changed nothing at all. I'd spent a summer with those same eyes, scared, lost, confused, staring back at me. I would have known them anywhere. Sarah Dessen. And justice is a certain rectitude of mind whereby a man does what he ought to do in the circumstances confronting him. Thomas Aquinas.
Today's episode is the final episode of this season and series, barring bonus episodes that may take place with a few key players in these cases. With today's episode, we bring it all the way back to the case of Adrian Vildusea, who was the main antagonist of our Minding the Beehive series in Season 2. Why? Because another of his victims finally came forward and spoke out against this monster who is currently walking freely on the streets, waiting to once again offend. This episode is one not to miss, because not only will there be a refresher on the original series, but also a message to all victim blamers, shamers, incels, sextortionists, and all sexual assailants. So are you still minding the beehive? With that, I'm Amanda Cronin.
And I'm Courtney Fenner. And A Nefarious Nightmare presents the finale, Still Minding the Beehive, Part 13.
In 2 weeks from today, the day this episode goes live, it will be the 4th Tuesday in September. In the US, the 4th Tuesday in September is recognized as My Consent Day. This is just a cool and fitting fact because of the theme of this podcast. More specifically, this series.
Throughout this series, we've discussed various topics, consent being one of them, as well as sexual assault statistics, the difference between revenge porn and sextortion, incest, narcissism, sexual assault between minors, sexual health, mental health, empathy. The list goes on and on. If you are just now tuning in, please go back about 13 episodes so that you can become fully aware on how big of a problem sex crimes are globally. It is becoming more and more endemic in the US alone. But despite every measure taken to diminish and decrease these statistics, new methodologies are formed and perpetrators wise up.
It's sad, but this is why survivor stories are important. It not only allows the survivor to feel validated, but it also educates people on how very real and traumatizing this problem is. It also makes others who are shy to tell their story realize that they are not alone.
We want to stress this to all victims and survivors. You are not alone, and this is not your fault. With a community such as the Beehive movement that's been occurring since Minding the Beehive, you can find renewed hope, encouragement, validation, and even more platforms or ways to tell your truth. Of course, we do not want to encourage the negative stigma that surrounds the term quote-unquote trauma bonding, as we never want to imply that being codependent or feeling forced to stick around is a good idea, but rather, it's more of a community of those who have also been in similar scenarios to support and uplift one another. There is a power in numbers after all, and just like with bees in nature, if you find yourself with a swarm of them around you, you best not fuck around and find out.
To wrap all this up, we want to introduce you all to Rachel. Rachel is actually a pseudonym, but was one of Adrian Vildusea's victims. Please listen with care, because while this pretty much rips the band-aid off of an already fresh wound, this still will offer validity and support to Rachel and many other victims, should they decide to come forward and speak. With that, here is Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm 34 years old. I'm a pretty laid back, easygoing girl. I mean, my favorite holiday is Halloween. My favorite time of the year is fall. I like the cool weather. I'm really into just music. I'm more so into the metal scene. I mean, my friends just describe me, and I would think to describe myself too, just like I said, as just a pretty laid back, easygoing person. I like the beach. I'm a total animal lover. Well, so I have 2 kittens. They actually turned 1-year-old today. Yeah, I'm a new cat mom, so everything's a little new to me, but I'm doing the best I can, and I can definitely tell they're very happy here and they love me, and they actually greet me at the door when I come home. Yeah, they're really good cats. Well, I was raped by Adrian Vildusea and physically assaulted by Adrian Vildusea many times. So it happened about 4.5 years ago. It was the fall of 2018. It happened over the course of several months, and it happened at my home in Pennsylvania. So Adrian and I had actually met on a dating app. We actually met it was Bumble. We did not actually go on a actual legit date. We just met at a public place. We talked a few days prior, and he made it clear that he wanted to meet me. He was interested in me. He wanted to get to know me better. So we decided to meet at a public place first. I expressed to him that I did not want to go to his place or have him come to my place. I just didn't feel comfortable with that. I wanted to meet him at a public place first, and that's what we did. And then afterwards, we actually then went back to his place. It was his idea, and I guess just at the time, I figured he seemed nice, and I figured what's the harm of just going back to his place and hanging out there. I definitely feel like the dynamic between us was positive. It was good. I feel like he, at the time, he wanted to, so like I said, we had met on a dating app, and it was on Bumble. And on Bumble, if you don't know how it works, is this was 4.5 years ago, but at the time the girl had to be the one to message first. So I just messaged hey. He messaged me back and had said that he really wasn't on dating apps much, and here's my number, give me a text. And so we exchanged numbers, and then we started talking from there, and he just wanted to talk on the phone. He seemed very interested in me, getting to know me. He seemed very genuine, and just he just really wanted to get to know me. And it was everything I was saying, he was just he was able to relate to it in some way, and just the conversation flowed well. We seemed to have a lot of things in common, and he was just very sweet and just understanding of things, and so easy to talk to. Everything just seemed to kind of flow really well. He totally loved Bombay. Oh, he would tell me that oh my gosh, you sound like such a wonderful woman. And when he saw me too, he would tell me how beautiful I was, how he cared about me. We could have this wonderful future together. We can do this, that, whatever I want. It was just, he was always complimenting me, and always just complimenting me in literally every way, not just my physical appearances, but what I do for work, and just how I have myself together, and my life, and just like almost like praising me in ways like, wow, like you're such a great, strong, like wonderful woman. Like you're so beautiful, and just like over the top with like compliments. I was living in Pennsylvania when it happened. Yeah. Some of the red flags that I noticed was he made it clear to me that he was going through like a hard time. He was going through like a rough time in his life. He had told me that he had moved to Pennsylvania to be with a girl, and she just left him, broke up with him. He didn't really know why. He would accuse her of a lot of things though. And those things such as he told me that she would claim like, oh, you left a bruise on me. Oh, you left a mark on me. Oh, like you shoved me. I mean, looking back, those were definitely red flags. Like somebody saying to you like, oh, my ex claimed that I pushed her, I shoved her, I left marks, I left bruises on her. Like those are definitely red flags. And then I noticed that he was drinking a lot too, but I just kind of blamed it on the fact that he had told me he was going through a rough time. He was going through a hard time. He was just saying like, oh, I just moved here from Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know anybody out here. Like, I'm from Arizona. It's just everything just seemed to be like about him, just who's going through a hard time. At the time that him and I were talking, I just know that he went by Adrian Vildusea at the time. I do know later though, he did go by other names. Yeah, like Esteban, Adrian Gray, Steven even. So as far as I know, he's been doing this to women for over a decade. The first time that he ever put his hands on me, we were actually sitting in my living room, and he was telling me a story about how he had been raped by a group of girls. So when he told me this, I went to try to hug him and hold his hand, and it was like something just like snapped in him. He took my hand, he started to bend my fingers back and told me that he was going to fucking break my fingers. And I just started begging him, like, please stop, that hurts, please don't do that, like, that hurts, please stop. After me just like begging him like over and over just to please stop, like, that hurts, please stop, he eventually stopped. I had a candle lit, and he picked up the candle, took it to my sofa, and told me that he was going to burn my fucking house down. Again, when he was doing that, I'm just like, please stop, like, you're scaring me, please stop, you're scaring me, don't do that, please stop, you're scaring me. He eventually put that down. I'm sorry, there's a lot of things like over the past 4 years I just blocked so much out, but he did put, I don't remember if he shoved me or like grabbed me, like he either grabbed my arms or like shoved me in some type of way. And I had my phone on me, and I took out my phone, I had put 911 in, and I told him, don't come near me, don't touch me, if you come near me, I'm calling the cops. And he eventually just stopped over, like, after a period of time, and I just kept on repeating, like, please don't come near me, don't touch me, if you come near me, I'm calling the cops. So he eventually stopped. I went to sleep. I'm assuming he went to sleep at some point that night too. And then the next day, I told him that we needed to talk. We were in a relationship at this point, and at first he said that he didn't want to talk. He didn't have anything to talk about. And I was like, no, we need to talk about what happened last night. And I started telling him what he started to do, and he just broke down in tears, gave me the most sincere apology ever. He was crying, telling me that he loved me, his intentions are never to hurt me, that's not who he is, he's not here to hurt me or scare me. He was just pretty much just apologizing, crying, saying just how much he loved me. He didn't mean it. That's not him. That's not who he is. That's not what he's here to do. And he'll do whatever it takes to make things better. And just he loves me. He promised me that it would never happen again. He'd never do anything like that again. He promised me. And I agreed to stay in a relationship with him because I thought that he was sincere and honest, and that it was not going to happen again, because he promised me that it would not happen again, but it did. It was until a few weeks later. Now, I don't really remember the order of what things happened in. I just know I can give you, these things happened at some point throughout the relationship. We were together for several months, and multiple times through those several months, when we would have sex, he would literally just hold me down, strangle me. He would even slap me. Anytime I would tell him, no, I don't want to do that, stop, I don't like that, it was it made him choke me harder. It made him hold me down more forcefully, and just literally just physically force me to do what he wanted me to do. And then he would physically assault me all the time. I can't even tell you how many times he did it. There was multiple times where he would just shove me against the wall, choke me. He would tell me that I don't deserve love. I'm a whore, I'm a slut, I'm cheating on him. He would accuse me of all sorts of crazy things. There was times too that he would take my keys, so I couldn't get in my car and go anywhere. And he would take my phone, so I couldn't even call anybody or reach out to anybody for help. If I would try to go out one of my front door or my back door, he would be right there and be like, no, you're not leaving. And if he would let me outside, he came outside with me. I couldn't reach out for help because I didn't have my phone. I couldn't leave. And there's so many times I would think too, all right, if I just make a run for it to a neighbor's house or something, I can get out of this. But then I would just think back, wait, so if I just run to a neighbor's, who's to say that he's gonna stop me, he's gonna do something to me? I just didn't want to deal with what he would do, because at this point he had choked me. He had hurt me in so many ways. There's even times too, I remember this one pretty specific time. So he had been drinking. He drank a lot, probably every day. And I came home from work. He was drunk. He forced me to go down on him, and he fell asleep. And I went to the kitchen, I made some food. I remember I was sitting there at the kitchen table eating, and he comes out to the kitchen and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm eating. And he just flat out is like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. You see the food in front of me, I'm eating. And he's just like, no, you're not. He walked away for a few minutes. And then I finished eating, cleaned up my dishes and stuff, and then I went upstairs to go to bed. I'm not sure where he was. He was somewhere in the house. So while I'm in bed, he comes upstairs, and I think the first thing he did was he ripped the sheets off of me, and then he threw a cup of water on me. I sat up, and then he punched me in the face, and my nose started bleeding, and I was like, oh my God, my nose is bleeding. And his words were, gee, wonder how that happened. You better get that checked out. And my dog, I had a dog at the time, and my dog came into the bedroom, and she started coming over to me, and I went to reach out to her to, just for comfort. He takes my dog, and he grabbed her, and he pulled her away, and shoved her, and said, your dog's not gonna save you, because I'm gonna fucking kill her. He threatened to kill my dog. And then he threw a cup at me, and it cut my nose. And this is just a few of the things that he did that was just so horrible. Another time too, he told me, I was trying to get away from him, and I was going down the steps, and he came following me, and he says, I'm gonna fucking kick you down the steps. And then he tried to. But I think the only reason that I didn't actually fall down the steps was because he told me he was going to kick me down the steps, so I just kind of braced myself, and he kicked my leg, but because I had myself braced, I didn't fall down the steps. There was another time too. This is a really difficult time for me to talk about, but it was actually a few weeks before my relationship with him ended, and we both had been drinking. I probably only had like two, maybe 3 shots of, I believe it was whiskey at the time. His go-to drink was whiskey, and he had been drinking. I was making dinner, and that's the last thing I remember was making dinner. I woke up a few hours later in bed with a broken tooth. I had a bruise on my head, I had a bruise on my chin, I had a bruise on my shoulder, a bruise like on my knees, my thighs, like my hips. I had no idea what happened. And I remember when I woke up that night, I got up from the bed when I noticed like my tooth was chipped, and he was home. He said that he claimed he didn't know what happened. I sincerely think that he drugged me, because he gave me drinks that night, and the last thing I remember is making dinner, and he was there. And I woke up a few hours later in bed. Like, I just don't understand how I could have. I went from being in the kitchen making dinner, feeling maybe like buzzed, maybe a little drunk, and then I wake up in bed with all these bruises and a broken tooth. And he says, I don't know what happened. I eventually ended up being able to get out of this relationship because I reached out to his mom, and I told her a little bit of what was going on, pretty much that I was scared. And she has suggested inviting him to come home for the holidays, because this was in the fall of 2018. And he agreed to go home for the holidays, and he just never came back then. He literally said, his exact words were, your dog's not gonna save you because I'm gonna fucking kill her. All I could think was like, oh my God, like my dog, like I'm worried about me. And then yet, like, he's threatening to kill my dog. Like, she's my baby. So I'm just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And there was even times too that I remember one time I was taking a shower, and he just comes into the bathroom and he's like, oh, your dog's loose outside. Now, I live in a town where like you are not supposed to have your dog off of a leash. And she's also the type of dog too, where if you leave her off of a leash and she sees a squirrel, a rabbit, she's gonna go after it. And when he told me, oh, I just left your dog outside, he kept on saying something about how animals are free spirits, they're meant to be free. Like he kept saying something about that, and I'm just like, ugh. Looking back, I almost can't help to think that maybe he only set her like outside, just loose, in hopes that like something would happen to her. I don't know. I mean, he was definitely like, it's unreal the amount of like gaslighting he did, and just manipulation, and just like every time that people will come to me, like, or people that like I've talked to about like, you know, the situation with him, they'll be like, well, you know, I just don't understand like how you fell for all this, like what, like, oh, you know, they just don't seem to get, like, they don't understand. And I hate to say it, but you really don't understand until you're in those shoes and it happens to you. Because I know I always said, the second a man ever laid a finger on me wrong, I'm done, I'm out. And there I was, stuck in that situation. It's like he knew what to say, how to say it, like at exactly the right time, the words that he picked and chose to say. It's like he just knew exactly what to say, how to say it, why to say it. Like, his manipulation was off the charts. When he was being like violent, it was like you could just tell, like his eyes, he looked like they were just dark, and he was in some type of state or something. It was like it just like pure like evil. I feel like if there was any time that he had been drinking, that was a for sure sign that something was gonna happen. But I never knew how he was gonna be, how he was gonna act. Like, he drank literally like every single day. And there were some days where he was fine. He was totally fine. And then there was the other days that he would be physically and sexually assaulting me. I never knew how he was going to be or act. There's even times too that I'd be at work. He knew what hours I worked, and he would be calling me and texting me. He'd leave voicemails, and I'd go on my break, and then I would see, like, you know, he called me and he texted me, because I can't be on my phone when I'm at work. And it would just be like these texts and voicemails of, like, I need you to come home, like, babe, I'm going through some shit right now. I really need you to come home. I need you here. Like it was just like he just needed me there. He needed help, and like he again would always blame it on, like, he's going through a hard time. He needs me. He loves me, and he wants me to be there to, like, help him, support him, and just be there for him, and like he just needs me. And it started interfering with, like, my work, just like my everyday daily life. There's times that I would actually, like, come back home on my break, and because of how he was, I wouldn't go back to work because he didn't want me to go back, and if I went back, I was afraid of what he would do. So after we broke up, I dropped him off at the airport, and he flew back to Arizona, and I actually didn't text him for a few days. He would text me, and I just never responded, and his texts were usually just like, hey, or he sent me, like, memes or something, or just random things, like he was just trying to start up a conversation, and I just would ignore him. And the one day I just sent him a text saying, we're done, I don't want you coming back. And he actually messaged me back saying, oh, I knew that when I left. And I just deleted, blocked his number, and blocked him on everything, and I never heard from him again. But actually, he did actually reach out to me. I had gotten a text message from a number that I did not have saved. It said, hey, is this Rachel? I didn't recognize the number, so I, like, Google searched it, and it came up that it was an Arizona phone number. So I just kind of figured it must be him, because I don't know anybody else from Arizona. Like, I don't have anybody else's number from Arizona. But that's the only time that he ever, like, tried to reach out to me after we were, like, formally broken up. I know of a lot of women that have reached out to law enforcement, and a lot of times I've noticed that it depends on what some police departments seem to take, like, assaults and rape more seriously than others. I have seen a lot of women that have reached out and made sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. That have reached out and filed, like, so, like, I know a lot of women that have reached out and made, like, formal complaints, and the police departments or detectives or SVU would just never get back to them, or they say they would get back to them and they wouldn't, or like they say they'd get back to you and say, like, yeah, I'm gonna look into this, we're on top of this, you know, like, we'll get this figured out, and then that's it. You never hear from them again. But then there's other police departments too where you go to and they take it seriously, and they actually do something about it. Because Adrian has been arrested several times, and he keeps getting out on bail. Somebody keeps bailing him out. Like, I just don't understand, like, how these judges can see, like, he has assault and rape charges, and they're just like, oh, all right, we'll just let this person out on bail. So what? They can go back out there and do it again? Like, I just don't understand that. Like, it's like they're just sending a criminal back out to society just to keep on doing the same crime over and over and over. Like, what? Is it gonna take someone to be murdered for them to take it seriously? I don't understand it. There's been a lot of times where I feel like some people, like, I don't know, they just don't take it seriously, they just brush it off, they don't believe them. I don't know, but until it happens to you or, like, your own child, then it's like, it opens your eyes and you're like, oh, well, all right, well, maybe this is serious. I'm not totally sure if he's ever had a restraining order filed against him. I know I wanted to file one, but I never did because I was scared, like, what's a piece of paper going to do from stopping him from coming back and doing something when he had already, like, threatened to kill my dog and burn my house down and choke me and rape me and assault me and punch me in the face multiple times and literally, like, keep me hostage in my house. Like, somebody that's doing things like that, like a piece of paper, I think, is not going to stop them. He has been arrested several times. The justice system has failed us, though. The justice system fails so many people every day, and it's a shame. They don't take these type of crimes seriously. This has definitely affected me in a lot more ways than I ever thought. I always said that he literally destroyed and just broke my spirituality, my mental health, my emotional health. And after he left, I definitely suffered from PTSD, anxiety. I couldn't sleep. I was super, super paranoid. I couldn't, like, leave my house without, like, somebody with me or, like, with my dog with me. I was always, like, on alert. Like, anytime, like, I'd see a man walking, like, outside, like, I just got so extra paranoid. I have to, like, keep an eye on them. After he left, I tried to surround myself with friends and family. But I feel like it reaches a point where there's only so much, like, they can do for you. And then, like, it just reaches a point where, like, for me at least, it started affecting, like, I started making just really poor life choices. And I had a lot of anger in me. I had a lot of just anxiety. I had panic attacks. I just so paranoid about everything. Like I said, I couldn't sleep, like I couldn't eat. Like I definitely lost weight from it. It was just, it was affecting my work too. But I mean, over time, I just tried then. After I feel like a few months, I just kind of was like, all right, I'm just gonna like block everything out, delete everything, pretend nothing ever happened, and just move on with my life. And at the time, I felt like I was doing a pretty good job of just moving on with my life because I just tried so hard to just delete, block, and just forget it ever happened to me. And it started causing problems then in like personal relationships. And a few months ago, I actually decided to reach out and get therapy for myself because I just knew that I needed help. There was just so much trauma that I just needed help. And I'm glad I did. I definitely feel like now I'm finally just starting my path to healing after like 4.5 years. There's still a lot of things that Adrian did to me that are just hard to accept and deal with. I can't even tell you too how many times I was honestly afraid. Like I was scared for my life so many times. And it reached points too where I remember the first time that he had put his hands on me, I had messaged one of my close friends about it. And I believe just from like looking over my shoulder and such, he knew like what my password was on my phone. Because there was times I would go to my phone and there was text messages that had been read that I know I did not read. And some of those messages were between this close friend of mine that I had talked to her about what Adrian had done the first time he put his hands on me. And like, I feel like saying within a day to a few days later, he had told me that, well, he had asked like, oh, are you talking to your friends about me? I don't want you talking to your friends about me. What happens between you and me is between you and me, not you, me, and your friends. We're in this relationship together. I'm not in this relationship with you and your friends. It's you and me. What happens between you and me stays between you and me. And at that point, I kind of got a little scared even texting my friends, and I told them, like, all right, don't text me after this time. And my friends just became increasingly like scared for me. I'd get to work and there'd be like a slew of messages of them being like, just text me so I know you're okay. You know, like, I'm worried about you. If you need a place to stay, like, you can stay at my place. But I never took any of them up on that because I knew if I did that, there would be some type of consequence. Because even if I was like late coming home from work, right away he was accusing me of cheating on him and that I'm a slut, I'm a whore, I don't deserve to be loved. He would tell me too that nobody will ever love me how he does. But honestly, looking back, I'm like, good, I hope nobody loves me how you did, because you don't know what love is. So I feel like a lot of my friends and family have been quite supportive. I mean, pretty much they were just all like most of my friends and family were just like, oh my God, like, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm glad you got out of that safe, you know, and just, you know, just pretty much like trying to tell me to like move on from it. But I mean, there was some of them that just kind of seemed like, yeah, you know, it happened, like, you know, it happens, move on from it. And it's just, well, it's not as easy as that. Like, you can't just say like, all right, I'm gonna move on from this, and you move on from it. There was actually somebody that made a comment to me one time too, and they were like, how does your boyfriend rape you? And that comment just really, really grinds my gears, because just because it's your boyfriend, or, you know, whatever situation in your partner, like, you can be raped by anybody. Just because it's your partner doesn't mean they can't rape you. If you tell them like, no, like and it's like, there's a lot of discrepancy between like, oh, well, you know, did you say no? Well, yeah. If you say, I don't like that, I don't want you, that's not comfortable, that hurts, those are all forms of no. And if your partner is not respecting that, it's not okay. Like, I feel like a lot of people think of rape as, you know, like, oh, I'm not trying to be like graphic or blunt here, but like, I feel like a lot of people think of rape as like somebody like holding a knife to your throat and being like, that, like, that's, you know, it's like violent like that. I mean, sure, Adrian never held a knife to my throat, but his hands were around my throat. Like, choking somebody, you can kill somebody that way. I do want to say that anybody that's ever been a victim of rape, physical assault, molestation, anything like that, your processing and healing time is all about you. Like, you need to put yourself first and do what works for you and take care of yourself. I didn't at first. I mean, it's totally normal to feel, I know I felt hopeless, guilty, embarrassed, ashamed, like just a whirlwind of emotions. And it's normal to go through that. You know, everybody processes things differently. It's something that's definitely hard. And it's something too that you don't go through life thinking it's going to happen to you. So it's hard to, for me at least, it was hard to accept what did happen. But you have to put yourself first and just heal within yourself. And it's different for everybody. And I mean, when it comes to seeking like therapy or counseling, filing police reports and such like that, whenever you feel ready to make a police report, do so. Or you can also, I've heard too that there's a lot of advocates depending on what like county or like towns that you live in. You should be able to find like an advocate and they can help you walk you through step by step, go with you to even make a police report if you don't have somebody to go with you. But I mean, it's a hard process, and I'm just gonna be honest though, the justice system fails a lot, but us girls are trying hard to get our justice. I just want to share my story with anybody else that's ever been through a situation like this or similar to it, and to know that you are not alone. There's help out there. There's people you can reach out to. Just know that you do not have to go through it alone.
After the Minding the Beehive series that launched in season 2, and since then, Holly, Kitty, Tatum, Haley, Parthena Grace, and Alex, among many others, have been vital in raising awareness about his many crimes. To this day, Adrian Vildusea is not only trying to sign on to many other dating sites, and is not only still utilizing hashtags like girls with tattoos, but he is also continuously changing his user handles on Instagram. Even though we feel deeply in our hearts that he will be brought to justice one day, we still have a ways to go. When his victims continue to come forward after the fact, such as when Rachel did, that only highlights the issue at hand. The legal system does not take sex crimes seriously, period. So let's change that narrative. Let's continue to mind the beehive.
Let's also wrap this series up in a nice, pretty mic drop, shall we?
I've thought of a million things I would spew out to the two of you if I have ever gotten the opportunity, if I felt I would truly be heard. And my mind races in so many directions of emotions, finger pointing, the pure hatred and sadness I want to spew. I want you to feel the urge to scream out how you ruined my innocence, how you ruined my life. But then I can't help but stop myself from giving you the satisfaction of taking that title, abuser or destroyer, how I feel. Making a title hover over me as a victim or a survivor. I am someone who has to have things make sense. I overthink, I break things down. There has to be a bigger picture, a deeper meaning. And through the years as I grow, that helped me a lot. Why things happened to me the way they did, and able to move past, and I learned how to be more understanding. Out of all of the positivity that has come from this trait, so much negativity and hatred circled back around, hitting every possible wall of how. Countless sleepless nights questioning everything. I will never know it all, and I will never truly be able to forgive fully. But I'm healing, and like layers, I have shed, and I will continue to shed the trauma that you have caused. And I am thriving, and you did not break me. You may have inflicted abuse and caused struggles throughout my life, but hell, not even in spite of you, but for purely me, and not to be that scared and confused little girl anymore that doubts herself. I rise up and I be better than yesterday, and I will continue to do so for me, because when you mess with the bees.
Honestly, I think that every single one of them should burn in fucking hell. But I know that even if the justice system doesn't get them right away, karma is always going to catch up, because it leaves no one out. And if you're a shitty person who thinks that you can take advantage of people, you're gonna get everything back that you fucking deserve. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because when you mess with the bees...
Adrian Vildusea, I'm sure you're listening to this because you are just that type of person that loves attention, and you are getting the attention that you wanted. But you know what? You're an absolute monster. You have destroyed so many women's lives. And the justice that is coming your way is so well deserved. You are not going to get away with what you unfortunately have been getting away with for over a decade. I don't even understand how you have gotten away with all of this for so long. But justice is coming, and you are just an absolute monster. And I hope this saves any other girl, any other person that comes in contact with you from being a victim of you. You're an absolute monster. I cannot even express that enough, how much of a monster you are. when you mess with the bees?
If there's anything I could say to those who have hurt me along the way, for so many years, and have really affected my mental health and how I look at life now versus back then, is karma's a bitch, and you can't break me. There are days where I feel like I've been broken, but in the end I always able to piece myself back together, and that's the resilience and strength that I've gained from dealing with your bullshit. It's an absolute joke that you've put me through this, as well as others, as I now know that I'm not the only one for any of the people I'm talking about. And you guys can all fucking rot in hell. I'm not a religious person by any means, but fucking hell. If there is a hell, you guys fucking deserve to rot. Not officially end it, but just be in hell, rotting through fire day in and day out, enduring the pain and then some that you've put myself and others through. And I fucking hope to God that no one else currently is going through this, that you're putting anyone else through this, because no one deserves that. But to end it all, I've got one final message for all of you. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with others, because we're a hive and we know what happens when you mess with the bees. So don't mess with the bees.
You know, all you fucking scrubs who have nothing better to do in your life but torment women, you wonder why you are so miserable and lonely, yet you want the company of somebody that's going to understand you and treat you with respect, but quite honestly, you deserve nothing but shit. And I would love to call out everyone else involved, but I can't. And I think all of you are garbage, and I hope you all rot. Yeah, I hope you wake up every day paranoid and anxious and just hoping every day will end as soon as possible, because quite honestly, we wish it would. And when you mess with the beast,
love letter from Sarah. You took a couple of babies and you promised them love, and you treat them so well, except you decided to rape them. You decided to fuck their little bodies. You decided to make them suck your fucking cock. You decided to hurt them. And you told them it was because that's the people who love you too. And then you told me that if I told my mom it would kill her, you would have to kill her. Fuck you for stealing my innocence. Fuck you for teaching me what a blowjob was when I was 5 years old. Fuck you for hurting my baby brother. I don't know what became of you. Because thankfully I was too young to know. And honestly, I didn't even realize I had this many emotions about it. But I hope they fucking made you drop it. That's what so many got me. I hope you never had a chance to see the light of day and you never had a chance to hurt another kid. But I swear to God, if I ever see you again in this life, I'm gonna suck you right, you fucking nutsack. That's what, because when you mess with the bees.
So to the bees and to the honorary bees, just know you are heard, you are safe, and you are so loved. And you are so bigger beyond this whole situation. And I hope one day you can be able to look back on this and know so much progress you have made with speaking your story into this existence. Without you guys, nobody would know that this person is vile and, essentially a monster that is still on the streets. And to the perpetrators, not just Adrian, but to anybody else who has ever thought that they can control a woman or to take advantage of a woman, I hope you realize one day that those actions just make you so much less of a person and make those women and those honorary bees so much bigger in the end. And I hope one day that if justice is served, I hope it's served ice cold. Because again, when you mess with the bees,
there are some people out there who I have come across who have victim blamed me, and I don't understand why they would ever want to do that, or if it makes them feel good. But I do know that I hope that one day they can heal from what happened to them. Because I came forward and I live with it every day, and it's very hard day by day to go through my day and have it not pop in my head. And there are people out there that will bury things down deep inside that have happened to them. And maybe that's why they choose to victim blame instead of being a caring and loving human being like they should. But all I can say is, I really hope that everything that has hurt you and that you have gone through in your lifetime that you will never speak about, you can actually heal from. Because it's hard and it's scary. And everyone deserves to have love and to feel okay. And there are some people who will probably never come out and say what they've been through. And I'm sure that we will find more victims, sadly. But I hope that with our series, Minding the Beehive, that they can get the courage to come forward. And I hope that people can listen and understand that, you know, we are here and we are surviving, and just to show love and empathy. And as far as Adrian goes, I mean, you know, you asked for fame and you wanted it. And ultimately, this is exactly what you're going to get. It's not going to be what you wanted, but you're going to get it. And justice will come. And I hope to God that you feel the pain that you put us through. Because when you mess with the bees...
Fuck you for taking what you took from me. Fuck you for making me feel like I am not good enough, or like I'm not worthy of being loved like a normal fucking person. And fuck you for hurting all of these fucking women and ruining everything that we have worked so fucking hard for, because when you mess with the bees.
So this is a message to the offender, the perpetrator, and the disgusting criminal who's been victimizing me and a bunch of other women. You're not going to get away with this. It's going to end for you, and it's not going to end well. And personally, I really, really hope that you get justice. And I hope that by every extent of the law, you get charged with every possible thing. I hope that they look at you under a microscope with this case and pull every single possible thing that you did that was illegal and charge you for everything to the full extent, because that is exactly what you deserve. I know you think that you can ruin women's lives, but here's the deal. I think that we are the ones who are going to ruin your life. Because when you mess with the bees...
This message is to my perpetrator. I want to thank you to the bottom of my heart for ruining my fucking life. You robbed me of 20 years of my life that could have been normal. I could have graduated from college. I could have done a lot of things. But thanks to your mind control, manipulation, gaslighting, ruining my relationship with my family, isolating me from them, and feeding my addictions, telling me that I was the crazy one. I just want to thank you, because now I'm going to be a stronger person. You know, I forgive you. I have to forgive you, because if I don't forgive you, I will drive myself crazier. But thanks to you, I trust no one. I make mistakes. I make bad decisions. I have poor judgment in people. And I just want to thank you for robbing me of 20 years that could have been very beautiful, productive, and successful. I could have had a PhD in anything, but thanks to the cat and mouse game you played with me and my family, that's not the case, and I will die healing from this. Wherever you are, I wish you well, if that's a possibility where you are. But I'm saying this because that's what happens when you mess with the bees.
Wherever you are, whoever you are, I just want to say that I know that our emotions mean nothing to you, but you are creating an army with all these victims that you are tallying up on your list. And one day we are going to end this. And we are going to get you behind bars, and we're going to make you feel the amount of pain that we're feeling right now, because it's not, you're not going to continue to get away with this. And I will fight until the day I die to see you behind bars and see you pay for not only my humiliation, but all these girls that I have grown closer to because of you. We're coming for you. Because when you mess with the bees,
You get the fucking hive.
you get the hive.
Before we wrap up completely, we want to extend a thank you to the following voice actors and fellow podcasters for lending their voices to all dramatizations and reenactments on this series. Roseanne Sinclair from California Dreaming, Raven and Ben Rollins from the Sirens podcast, Melissa and Whitney from Navigating Advocacy podcast, Kristen Seavey from Murder, She Told, Shane Waters from Foul Play, Chris Chacon from The Voice Choice, The Keb from the Refiltered podcast, Ryan Terry, aka Turbo, that's Turbo spelled TERB0, Lisa Alsip, Holly Murphy, Tatum Connolly, Shay Vishna, Susan Corliss, Eliana Kachki, Jason Ustry, aka Richie Buck from Santa May Be a Criminal, Nina Instead from Already Gone, and They Walk Among America, Scotty Jagarin, Amber Harbor, Trevin and Amanda from Live Laugh Larceny, Jamie Rice from Murderish, Dirty Money Moves, Judgy and Juryish, Trendvetters, and Lipstick and Lies. Special thanks to Mama D of Pedals of Support podcast for her insightful episode, and thank you Kyle from DFW Exposures for your work behind the scenes in the case from Phase 1. Thank you to the perpetrators in all of these cases, because we know way more about you than you might think. Your retribution will come. And finally, thank you to every single survivor that took part in this series. You all are strong, brave, beautiful goddesses. We appreciate and admire you all because you are all strong, resilient, yet vulnerable. So we must protect the bees at all costs. For without bees, we will not survive and thrive in life, as without bees, we as a human race are doomed. So, be vigilant, for when you mess with the bees,
You get the hive.
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Fenner and Amanda Cronin. I'm Lainey Hobbs, and as always, be vigilant, for when you mess with the bees, you get the hive.